Hey, it's SSC here, bringing you some more sweet StarCraft 2 action. This time we're casting some games from the Seat Story Cup, and in the bottom central location on Heavy Rain, it's going to be our red Zerg player, LiquidTLO. Top left hand corner, it's going to be his opponent, LiquidBunny. So a Zerg vs Terran series here on Heavy Rain. This is game 2 now. For those of you who missed game 1, you ought to go and check it out. It was played on Yonsu. It was a great game, quick one but a good one, and LiquidBunny able to take the lead in that game. So we'll see how TLO responds to this. TLO very well known and loved for his Zerg shenanigans, and always excited to see just what sort of strategies he's choosing to play, because if there's one thing we can rely on TLO for, it's his pure diversity. We see all sorts of crazy shenanigans out of him, and wouldn't be surprised to see some here on Heavy Rain. So we have seen a lot of strategies played out on this map recently. I saw a great game with played with Jadong actually versus a Protoss player. I've forgotten momentarily who he was against, but used Swarm Host to just devastating effect in that game, and it shows you just how diverse and important map choice can be in these tournaments. So wouldn't be surprised to see either TLO or Bunny with some builds specific to this map, designed to try and exploit weaknesses and openings in their opponent's build. TLO actually going to open with a spawning pool first on this map, so not going for the hatch first as he often does. You can see Bunny, however, going for the fairly similar opening move, going to grab that gas first, most often for Reaper, but occasionally you will see quite fast factory play out of that. And we'll see just how TLO decides to open here. It looks like he is going to follow up with a hatchery on the low ground, and not actually going to be scouted for a little while, so Bunny likely to leave all scouting till his first Reaper completes. Reaper is on its way. It is fairly standard for Terran to wait for that Reaper to scout. If you're going to build a Reaper, generally tend to wait for us. There's no real not a lot of diversity in the way that Zerg will open nowadays, particularly against a Terran opponent. There's not a whole lot of change in builds in the first 6, 8, even 9 minutes of a game. Occasionally you'll get different openings out of Terran, but the majority of Zerg vs Terran games tend to open fairly similarly, and scout timings tend to be first Reaper if you're a Terran player. If you're a Protoss player, you tend to scout about the time that Cybernetics core finishes up. So if you're wondering why you're not getting useful scout info when you're sending out that first worker or first scout, try to mix up the time you're using that unit. Try to memorize the times that are useful. For example, a Protoss player always going to pick their tech after their cyber core comes down, so you want to be scouting about that mark, trying to get an idea what they're going for. Zerg players will tend to try and throw down their tech structure when their lair comes out. You will see a Roach Warren before then, but in the main, about the time the lair finishes is when you want to really try to be sneaky and work out just what tech structures are going down. Of course, you do want to be doing what Bunny's doing here, trying to work out if there is some sort of 2-base timing come out. Very unlikely with just a Zergling nest that TLO will be going for those sorts of play. Generally a sign that those sorts of things are coming. The early Roach Warren's gone down, Roach Warren and or Baneling nest, both those key ingredients in most Zerg 2-base play, but none of those coming out of TLO at the moment. Generally a good indicator for Bunny that TLO is settling in for a longer macro game. You do tend to see a 3rd base go down a little bit quicker, particularly against Protoss players, but perhaps because of Bunny's aggression in game 1, TLO playing it just a little bit safe here, ensuring he can try and clean up these early Reapers. Bunny being super careful not to lose any of these, but TLO actually dealing with them a lot better in game 2 than he did in game 1. The early Reapers were able to do quite a substantial amount of damage. Over in Bunny's base, we can see him opening fairly different from last game. We saw 3 very quick CCs. This time we're actually seeing, oh no, 3rd CC is actually on its way. So Bunny just greedy mode against TLO, and we'll see if this pays off for him long term. But TLO's not the sort of player you want to repetitively use the same build against. He tends to find exploits for it quite quickly, and we do actually see the Roach Warren on the way. Reapers are going to scout that, but there's not going to be a lot in play to actually defend it. If we look at the production of Bunny, he can only produce 2 factory units at a time, either Widow Mines or Hellions, and 1 Marauder. But he's actually swapped the Starport out for potentially a Banshee here. We have Cloak and a Banshee about to be on the way, I would guess, as soon as the gas hits the bank. And this could be very dangerous for Bunny. He's got a few Reapers and a Hellion on the map, but if TLO decides to move out with a substantial Roach force, Bunny could find himself out of this game quite quickly. So we have these units trying to bludgeon their way through the front door. Unfortunately for Bunny, the Roach is now on the field. It's going to mean that these units will be driven back quite quickly. Banshee is on the way and could potentially do a lot of damage. There's currently only hatchery tech in play, no overseers on the field, and no spore crawlers. So this Banshee with its cloak could do a lot of damage, but TLO already going to be moving out with these roaches. So first couple of roaches rallied out on the middle of the map. We have a lair on the way and a third hatch coming down, and TLO could very well just try to exploit the low level of production that Bunny has on the field at the moment. Went for another very greedy opening. We'll see if it pays off for him. Certainly did in game number 1, but I think we've seen some significant changes in how TLO's decided to deal with this. So we'll see just what damage Bunny can do with this opening Banshee. Where is our Banshee? It's snuck away. It's moving out now, though. Luckily not going to get spotted by this Overlord. So if he's lucky, it's going to make its way unmolested into the natural expansion, do a lot of damage here to TLO. Which I gotta say, folks, he has to do the damage. The Roach is going to clean up the Reaper there and going to be able to move out and put pressure on our Terran player. Banshee going to cloak up a little bit early on the cloak, but nevertheless, always best to be careful. We have a Spore Crawler on the way, but this Banshee's going to rack up a lot of kills in the meantime. 3 kills already, 4th kill going to go down. 5th kill even on those drones, 6 kills. So this Banshee already making its value back, 7 kills. And Banshees just do so much damage to the Mineralite. This Spore Crawler going to provide a lot of detection, but Banshee's still able to tank that for a little bit and do even more damage here. So going up to an insane 9 kills. So that Banshee more than paying for itself. These Roaches deciding maybe now's not the time to go, but TLO, thinking better of it, decides okay, I've taken some substantial damage, need to move out, need to even the score. Third base is trying to go down for Bunny, and TLO trying to use these Roaches to ensure that Overlord can't be pushed back. I like the choice from TLO. A second Banshee coming out from Bunny here, but these Hellions going to get caught by the Roaches, and 3 Hellions do go down. 4th Hellion goes down, and TLO getting great cost efficiency out of these Roaches. Unfortunately, Hellion's just not able to do anything to Roaches. They do so much damage. Banshee, on the other hand, is going to do a stack of damage to the Roaches. However, the Roaches can't outrun. Always best to engage, and TLO going to clean up most of these Hellions, prevent them from really forcing him back. And if he can snipe this Marine, it's just going to delay this expansion even further. The Marine does go down, and that third base is going to be stalled for another minute or 2. Hellbat's just tanking so much damage from these Roaches, but Bunny is gone for the all-out mech conversion here. We have 3 factories in play, 2 armories actually on the field, so getting +1/+1 at the same time like a boss. Full conversion to mech in game 2 from what we saw as a very bio-heavy game 1 to full mech transition in game 2. TLO, though, not to be left behind, is throwing down his Hydralisk Den and grabbing the Muscular Augments upgrade, so going to be faster off creep. Third base now established, and TLO just going to be going for it here. These Roaches going to be removing these last couple of obstacles, give TLO a little bit of options for moving around this map, and we'll see just how Bunny decides to play this out. His mech on 3 bases is quite sturdy. They do tend to trade very well against Zerg players, and we've seen a real transition from Zerg players where they tended to always go bio versus Zerg. They've started actually using quite a lot more mech in play against Zerg, so it's interesting to see as the metagame slowly switches. We notice a Hydralisk doing a lot more damage than usual. It didn't seem like a big buff, but we've seen quite a few games recently where players who aren't quite used to the increased DPS, they're taking fights and realizing that they can't quite win fights that they may have won before. So we're seeing quite a difference here, particularly in the way Zerg are trying to handle this matchup and the way they're responding. This Concave from TLO just crazy here as he engages his force on all sides. SCV is going to be pulled off and going to take a lot of damage from TLO as he wraps around this force. These doors doing so much damage to the roaches, but there is just too many units here. If they just muscle their way straight through these swords into the production at the third base, these roaches are going to be burrowing, actually coming up on top of the siege tank. So TLO utilising the tunneling claws on these roaches to just break through this Terran defence. We have Bunny here, Boulder's Brass, trying to throw down a command centre in between these two bases. Banshee desperately trying to install these roaches. Oh, TLO, perfect timing there. Going to save two of those roaches. Third one unfortunately gets hit by a stray shot from that siege tank, and TLO trying to be as difficult as possible with these last roaches. Would love to snipe that SCV again to delay the command centre, but the siege tank's now in position. The real question is, how will TLO react to that? And I think the answer is this Viper that's on the way. So the Viper's going to be great against those siege tanks. Can yoink them out of position, allow the roaches and hydras to pick off, and it is quite interesting seeing a lot different sort of play. Another big engagement here from TLO. Can he snipe these tanks? Unfortunately, there's nothing to actually tank damage for these tanks. They're just wearing this roach hydra aggression. The tank on the high ground continuing to do a lot of damage, but unfortunately it can't save this third base. Two tanks for all the damage they can do. The roach is just able to clean up so many workers here. They can... Oh, nice, scan's going to go down, but TLO is in the mineral line. Every shot from these siege tanks actually going to be doing scatter damage on his own SCVs, so got to be super careful there. TLO can exploit this by burrowing and running into the mineral line. Those straight shots going to be hurting Bunny's workers on every volley. 21 workers killed for TLO, as opposed to the 13 that were killed by Bunny. Most of which were off that first Banshee that was very nicely controlled. So TLO almost mined out in his natural base, has moved most of those workers down to his fourth, and actually seen TLO throw down some static defense here. I like that choice, particularly against mech. You never know when you're going to face a bit of a Hellion run by. They can, particularly blue flame Hellions, really mess up your day. So like this choice from TLO, throwing down the static defense. You have a couple of Vipers here as well, which are potentially going to completely undo these tanks. Tanks probably clustered just a bit too closely together. Two poison clouds going to greatly reduce the effectiveness there, but we'll see. Bunny potentially stabilising now. 2 upgrades on the way. It's very powerful for mech, particularly as siege tanks just do so much extra damage with these upgrades. They scale very well, and we'll see just how this next engagement fares. We've had TLO get some great concaves in these early ones, but now that Bunny actually has some Hellbats out to tank, could be a very different fight indeed. 180 supply to 140, but a good deal of that is going to be in workers. TLO with actually a 30 worker advantage, showing itself in the mineral line, but the mules tend to help the Terran player keep up at least on the minerals. Gas income always going to lag behind the Zerg a little bit, but a lot more important for the Zerg to have gas than it is for a Terran player. Is Ultraless actually going to tank most of the damage? Perhaps a little bit premature there. The Ultraless way out ahead of those units. Viper's not actually able to get in range there, being shot down by the Vikings very quickly. Poor Viper. And unfortunately for TLO, wanted to use that Ultralist for cover, but the Ultralist just very premature, so got to be super careful here. TLO more Ultras on the field. Chitinous plating not quite on the way yet. I imagine we'll see that, and indeed there it goes there at the start. We have Bunny moving out here, bold as he tries to muscle his way up this ramp, getting a nice siege position, going to force his Ultralist back. The question is how far can Bunny move forward? He's happy Ultralist going to be cleaning up all these siege tanks. Poor siege tank in the middle of the field, going to be cleaned up by Zerglings and Ultralist. And unfortunately for Bunny, he's pinned between a rock and a hard place here. These units clean up all of the reinforcements, and as Bunny tries to stretch to move forward, these Ultralists are going to be doing so much damage. Queen's here transfusing the Ultralists, going to allow them to push right through. There's no units left to tank for these, and the Ultralists get complete surround. They're going to clean up Bunny's entire force, and this is horrific for our Terran player. Bunny moved out. Was it an advantage there, but his supplies have been rapidly reduced back to 101. Bunny trying to produce 3 tanks at a time, but unfortunately his Vikings just not going to be able to do a whole lot. Bunny landing them to try and tank for the Ultralists, but deciding that's a bad idea as the Ultralists cleaving their way through them and almost single-shotting those Vikings. Ultralists going to continue to clean up these tanks, but unfortunately I think the tanks are too little too late for Bunny. He's 2 tanks trying to siege up, and he's going to GG out of the game as TLO breaks through the last of his defenses. So Bunny going mech in game 2 and almost making it work there. We saw him take some great engagements, managed to hold the line here and did advance, but unfortunately TLO using the map to his advantage, pinning Bunny in this section down in the middle, and it is a very dangerous position to try and siege from. It appears like such a great route to try and siege this third base, but unfortunately the way you need to siege and unsiege as you're moving forward just makes you very vulnerable. So got to be super careful with how you choose to push as a Terran player, and TLO using that to its advantage to even this series out 1-1. So great game from both our players here. Looking forward to game number 3. Both these players still need 2 wins to seal it out. Will it be Bunny or will it be TLO progressing into the semi-finals? Find out in the remainder of this series here at Aussie StarCraft. Thanks guys, we'll catch you in the next cast.